Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
And I'm Dr. Leviathan.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories most creepy and most pasta. Tonight we have JVK1166z.esp. For those of you just joining in, creepypasta are creepy internet stories, like campfire stories kind of things, that get copied and pasted across the internet. And for this episode, this creepypasta is based off of a Elder Scrolls Morrowind mod from a couple of years back that actually existed from what I've looked into. Maybe. It exists now, anyway. And this is going to be one where it's kind of like Ben Drowned, the Ben Drowned episode, whereas I've never played Morrowind, but the good doctor has. So we're just going to move the rundown to Leviathan.
And for all of our listeners, it's going to be a lot easier for you to know what I'm talking about. If you've played an Elder Scrolls game, unfortunately, we don't have time to wait for you to go do that, so do that on your own time.
Yeah. We should also mention that you can check out this creepypasta at creepypasta.wiki, as well as Mr.Creepypasta's YouTube channel. He does a very good 20-minute reading of it.
So, yeah, I'll just get right into it. This one's going to be a pretty Spartan overview. For those who aren't familiar with Elder Scrolls games, they're huge open-world fantasy games. If you've played Skyrim or Oblivion, you know what I'm talking about.
This is the granddaddy of Skyrim.
Yeah, this is it's the third in the franchise as opposed to the fourth or the fifth. But like all Elder Scrolls games on the PC, huge modding community, which, I mean, I play these games on the console, so I don't really know what that's all about.
It's huge.
But this is a mod that was basically a legend or whatnot.
It was an urban legend mod,
yeah.
Like it was
something that everyone knew. A guy who knew a guy who once had a conversation with a guy on a message board who had this mod, but no one had the mod themselves.
Exactly, yeah.
And basically, the mod just doesn't work. It crashes your shit, corrupts your files, and just nothing ever happens until. What was it, like 2000, 3 years later, someone gets a PM to run it in DOS box.
February 2008, yeah.
So, they run it in DOS box, and lo and behold, they can actually play the game. It works. Excuse me. And
I wonder how many of our listeners actually know what DOS box is.
To be completely honest, I'm a little fuzzy, but I think I've got a fair grasp of it. And the game, when you start up the game, it works. It looks basically normal, except you're always losing a little bit of health, and that's because of this, deformed, kind of like the Ice Cream Man from Legion.
Oh, God.
Assassin.
Yeah. He's been dubbed the assassin by the community of players that have played this game.
Yeah. Who, just always hangs out, just out of your vision, or sometimes you catch a glimpse of him, but he's always not right in your field of vision.
Yeah.
And he's just taking cheap shots at you. And all of the characters who are necessary for the main quests are all dead.
Yeah.
And their bodies stay there, which is weird for this game, because, bodies eventually leave. They despawn.
Yeah. Exactly.
So basically, it leaves you in a very hopeless world because you can't. I mean, shit's going down in Morrowind. I mean, that's why there's a game, and you can't do anything about it because all of the people you need to talk to get your quests, they're dead. So you're fucked from the get-go. But then there's also this one added character who sends you to this place called the Citadel.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty sure it's not actually a place in the game.
That was probably added on the mod.
Huge dungeon.
Doesn't go up,
and
it goes
it's
down.
going down.
Yeah.
And when you like, you get to not the end of it, but you reach an impassable door that's locked and you can't pick it. Like, it's one of those requires a key doors. So then you go back up, and basically there's a bunch of, all the people are like, look at the night sky, and shit like that.
Watch the sky.
And then one of the narrator's friends from these message boards and whatnot figures out that the night sky has actually been changed to
the star map of 2008.
Yeah, of when the legend of this mod started
Presumably,
out.
yeah.
So he's like, okay, so you just gotta wait till he initially figures till 2008 when the one guy got the initial PM to play it in DOSBox.
Yeah, because he waits a full day, which is a full year in the game's time. Thinking that some celestial
Well, it
event
goes
will
through a
open up
year
the door.
of the star map.
And that doesn't work. So he decides that 3 days is enough. 3 years is enough because that's 3 years since that PM happened.
And apparently, I'm pretty sure you can't save in this either. So
there's quick save and quick load. That's it.
To play the 3 days, you basically have to
play the game,
be awake for the whole thing.
Yeah, because you can't even stay still and just go do something else because the assassin will notch at your health.
Yeah. But anywho, basically what happens is this guy who figured out the star map thing, he becomes obsessed with getting to the end, because I believe this was what we mentioned last week, since there have been computers, there have been people with too much time on their hands.
Yes, exactly. There will always be people with too much time on their hands when there's a computer involved.
Exactly. So, and basically, there are some things that happen in the game, but I honestly just don't feel like going into
if you want
the detail. Honestly, read the pasta, because I will be here for an hour just going through all of the little changes that happen in the game. But the guy who's going hardcore with trying to figure out the end and get to it and beat this mod, basically, the game starts letting him take breaks and sleep a little bit because, basically, the assassin the little spider, spindly-looking assassin stops hitting you. Yeah. But, so he's actually, he's sleeping, for realsies, and then he has a dream where, the assassin's in the dream, and then he wakes up, but he hears this tapping at his window. Yeah. And it's just tap, 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 and then that's the last email that the narrator gets from him, and then there's just a paragraph of the narrator saying that, I deleted my copy of the mod,
I'd really like to
got it all gone.
But I'd really like to, get a copy.
Yeah, if anyone still has a copy, I'd like to see this file for myself. And that's where it ends.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I remember, I was reading it, I read it last night and was listening to Mr. Creepypasta this morning on it, and I liked the feel of it. It felt, I just generally tend to enjoy the video game creepypastas, and it's probably something to do with nostalgia, but even though I didn't have any nostalgia for this game, there was enough familiarity, I think.
This is definitely written by someone who's
loves the
very
game.
familiar with Morrowind.
Yeah.
Just like I'm assuming I assumed the Ben Drowned one was. This one I can state, totally written by a fan of Morrowind.
Yeah, exactly.
And I gotta say, I'm right there with you, author.
Yeah, and I liked the assassin. The assassin was definitely, the way it was described was a good creepy little entity. It wasn't really an overbearing stalking force until the very end of the story.
Yeah, his role definitely gets ramped up as the pasta goes on and as days pass and years pass in the game. And like I said, the way he's described like a member of the Dark Brotherhood, and if you played an Elder Scrolls game, you know what I'm talking about with Dark Brotherhood. Yeah. but with the elongated limbs and
Almost
walking on all fours. And
I've actually seen...
Immediately, I was just like, I was remembering the ice cream truck driver from Legion, and I was like, okay, I know what this guy looks like.
It actually reminds me, somebody actually did another mod for Skyrim where they took Spider-Man, like a figure of Spider-Man, and made it so that his skeleton, like the model skeleton, was one of the cave spiders. And it reminded me a lot like that kind of thing. So... Exactly. The same thing as I didn't even remember the ice cream truck guy until you brought it up. Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Give me nightmares.
And like I was just about to say, it worked for me in Legion, and it worked for me here too, because, it's off-putting to see anyone like something like that.
It goes back to like The Exorcist, where like the girl creepily crab walking up and down the stairs, like that. When people shouldn't be moving in ways that they shouldn't be, it just innately creeps out people.
Yeah.
So it was an effective plot device, or it was an effective device. And yeah, like I was intrigued by the guy like just starting to follow the star map stuff. I got confused initially because it was like, wait, what? Like because there is a little bit of like I was almost like wondering if there's some discrepancy because it's like he's talking about like the stars line up to the star maps of 2008, and then at the very end of the story he's talking about it's 2015 now. And I was like, what? So is this? But
no, yeah, and. That was another thing that was different that no one initially picked up about the mod because
this is what this
Elder Scrolls games have their own celestial bodies and whatnot.
Yeah, like they have own planets and stuff.
But I mean, seriously, how often are people going to know? Like, it's going to take a while for someone to notice that.
Well, and again,
I liked the fact that in the pasta, it took a while before anyone noticed that.
Yeah. That's another thing about this one is that it's definitely it starts off as a slow burn creepiness. Well, okay, like slow. Like I thought, like at the very for the first couple of paragraphs,
I wouldn't have even thought that this was supposed to be creepy if I wasn't reading it because of our podcast for creepypastas on creepypasta.wiki.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, I even had all that information. I was like, well, this really isn't a creepy story at all until you get to the very end, and then you're like, oh god.
Yeah, it wasn't going anywhere like horrific or anything, or like even, remotely creepy at the start. Like it was just weird. I thought it was, gonna be because like all the main characters or like all the people you need to talk to for the main quests are dead. I was like, oh okay, so it's like
a broken game.
Yeah. Why the hell would anyone want to play this? And like, I mean,
and that's why
the Elder Scrolls games have been getting smaller and smaller. So the fact that someone went all over Morrowind and found the one guy who wasn't there originally
and wasn't dead.
Yeah.
All the other quests.
Like that's a commitment of time.
Well, even like we said,
even with using the fast travel points,
which you couldn't use.
You couldn't use after a certain point in the story.
Right.
But to initially find the guy, you could use them, but I mean, to do that, it's just going to take you forever. I mean, just searching the cities can be...
each city would have been like an hour or so.
Yeah, it's just... I mean, it's a big game. Lots of people in it. Even when you take out, people for the main quest, because,
there's still villagers.
Any listeners who have played in an Elder Scrolls game, part of the fun is the fucking around with side quests and shit, so...
That is a fair quantity of quest givers.
Most of the people in the game aren't really for the main plot. They aren't necessary. They're just, delightful window dressing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, I was really kind of getting bored with the pasta at that point, because I'm like, really? What? I don't know what you're going to do. I'm starting to run out of fucks to give, and and then it picks up, at least, and things, the pasta starts dropping hints as to, not necessarily what is going on, but that something's going on, and you start guessing in your head, and
it pretty much leaves you guessing by the end of it, like, what exactly happened, like, aside from the guy just getting so obsessed that he starts dreaming of the assassin and the tapping and
Well, and then he
gets super
theoretically
and
starts hearing it in the in the
Yeah.
real world. Yeah, did the mod just drive the dude crazy? Did it
was he already unstable to begin with?
With the whole sleep deprivation and whatnot,
your mind can play tricks on you.
Well, exactly. Did it start to basically did it drive him insane with sleep deprivation and the whole trying to figure it out, just living in the world of
being
this
so immersed
video
in
game
this mod. Yeah.
Or
was there something?
Was there actually something tapping at his window? And they don't answer that question, and that's great because the monster movie lover in me gets to think that, oh yeah, it was totally something tapping at the window, and
it was the assassin.
And it was the assassin. And it was all like, I got you.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the little more mindfuck story lover in me gets to think that no, the guy was just driven batshit crazy by some dick who did a mod for
that could not be solved and was driving people insane because they were so
and just had all of these red herrings to oh yeah, you can totally get behind this door, yeah, just watch the skies, yeah.
It certainly built a following.
Go days without sleep, yeah, it'll be fun.
It'll be fine. It's fine. Yeah, exactly. It's like I think we've harbored on it a couple of times, when stories do this when they're ambiguous, but this one's done it really well.
Yeah, because it's ambiguous, but something happened to him.
Yeah, because he stopped responding, and then the same thing seemingly is going to start happening to the narrator because he wants a copy. He's intrigued.
He wants a copy of the mod again, and it's kind of that whole curiosity of the gamer. I know when I get into a game I love, I've got to do everything. You know, I did every side quest in Oblivion and the expansions for it. Why? Because that's how I get about these games. So I can just imagine how people are and were with Morrowind in the modding community, with shit like this. I don't know if this is actually the kind of stuff that they get into in the modding community, but
sometimes, I mean, I don't know a whole lot about the modding community, but I know enough about modding communities in general that people will come up with their own things and
I'm a console gamer, so I don't get a modding community.
I actually think this mod
start the hate mail now.
All right, there, PC Master Race. But yeah.
So I get how that guy is. It's okay, this is. I mean, it's not from the team that made the game, but it's still something that you can do with your favorite.
It's
game,
something
so
new.
You want to do it.
Yeah,
you want to,
something
even though you shouldn't.
Yeah,
you're still gonna want to.
Curiosity killed the gamer. That's going on a t-shirt.
Yes, but save file brought him back.
Yes. Wow. Oh God. Just goes to show.
So there's a nerd moment for everyone.
But yeah, no. And regardless of if supposedly this existed, this actually may have existed back when it first came out, or when this creepypasta first came out. But it does exist now. There is actually a JVK 1166z.esp on Mediafire or other download sites that you can actually acquire. And in fact, I think there's even a mod for Skyrim for this game. So it just goes to show what the internet communities will do if something explodes. And this story is one of the more popular Elder Scroll creepypastas. There are a number of Elder Scroll creepypastas because it's a large franchise.
Well,
so.
And there's a huge fan base for him, and that fan base is just
a good percentage
to
of
the
that
death
probably,
loyal.
Yeah, exactly. And with any fan base, there is probably going to be a small percentage of them that are creepypasta fans as well. So they decide, I'm going to make a creepypasta based on my favorite game. Hence, Been Drowned, Super Mario Bros. 64, a bunch of other ones.
Ones that we haven't done on the show.
We'll get to them at some point, I'm sure. But yeah, yeah. So it's just Like, there's it like, and if you're a fan, even if you're not a fan of Morrowind, like I'm a fan of, I liked Oblivion, I loved Skyrim, but I've never played this one. But I still got the same kind of like familiarity, like same kind of like semi nostalgia for it.
Well, you know what kind of
like I knew
game they're talking about here because you've played the other ones. Like, it's a huge world.
Yeah.
And
like name drops I actually got some of the name drops, though not like the cities or something like that, but like some of the descriptions of places.
Yeah, and when the author uses like race names like Dunmer, you know what a Dunmer is. Yeah. It's a dark elf.
Exactly. Writing wise, how do you think the writing for this one is?
It's fine. It's totally it's completely works. Like I said, I was getting a little bit bored at the start just because it's
kind of a slow burn.
It builds up. It starts at 0.
It wants to give you information about
and starts turning up the the creepiness and by default your interest.
Yeah.
But because it starts at 0, you're a little bit bored at the start, but I don't think that's necessarily a failing this time because it does keep a steady pace of intensity increase.
Yeah.
And that's where it succeeds. And if I wasn't bored at the start, that whole slight incline, it wouldn't have worked as well. Like, if I'd have just been, like, engrossed from the get-go, the end wouldn't have had the same effect.
Yeah,
but because I was like, okay, yes, we're hearing about the fucking game, come on.
And then something happens, like, oh,
and then
something new.
And then it's like, oh, God, that assassin is creepy, or, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Whatever that first bit of information where I was like, okay, you got me. I'm interested. Keep going.
Would you like to know more? Yes.
Click yes. And it just, it keeps going from there. It doesn't, once it starts, it doesn't stop, and it doesn't really backtrack. It doesn't, it's steadily getting more and more, as opposed to having peaks and valleys.
Exactly, yeah. Like, it's kind of like, it's kind of like an decline, or an incline. No, sorry. Like, it slopes down, goes up a little bit.
It doesn't slope down. It just starts at 0 and just starts going up.
Gotcha, all right.
And, it never drops below its current point.
Mm-hmm.
It always just...
It just keeps going up and up and up.
Yeah, it keeps going more and more, higher and higher on the scale. And I mean, it doesn't, it didn't leave me, like, huddled with a blanket, wearing a blanket like a hood, and, chewing on my fingernails and pissing my pants. But...
It still has a creepiness to it, so...
When I got to the end, it still worked.
Yeah.
And... I really can't ask for more from a creepypasta.
Yeah, exactly. Because they're they're creepy by nature.
Exactly.
And if you can pull off the creepiness, you've won.
Exactly. And the fact, I kind of get where you were coming with Ben Drowned, because the fact that they used Morrowind.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, it's like you're talking to me because, you're mentioning a game that... Like, this was my first Elder Scrolls.
Much like, and like, I loved Majora's Mask. And when I read Ben Drowned, I was like, oh my god, it's same kind of reaction.
Yeah. But because this was the first Elder Scrolls to be on a console, it was obviously going to be my first Elder Scrolls. Mm-hmm. And it's just always had this nice, warm place. I still have my copy of Morrowind for the Xbox. Why?
Why not?
Because every now and then I think, what, I'm going to play a little Morrowind.
Exactly.
Because why? I want to have a spear. I want to wear pauldrons.
And I don't want to go out and LARP.
Well, no, it's just because Elder Scrolls games have actually been getting... They've been getting better, but they've been getting smaller.
Yeah, because
almost every regard, because in Skyrim you have no spears, you don't wear, as many pieces of armor, you wear...
an outfit.
Yeah, you have, boots, pants, the torso armor, gloves, and a helmet.
Yeah.
This one, you had, boots, greaves, pants... the torso armor, pauldrons, gloves, and then the helmet. Yeah. It was just...
They've been streamlined.
More pieces, yeah. this Morrowind had flying enemies, like legitimate flying enemies, aside from, like, there were no dragons.
But yeah,
but like fairly common enemies that were actually really fucking annoying because they were flying.
Yeah.
But just little things like that, and also the size of the map has actually been getting smaller and smaller, and that's like...
It's probably like what's been happening with, well, going into a game section of this game.
But they've been getting way better, too. Like, I'm not, like...
They've been streamlining
I play
stuff.
Skyrim over Oblivion because, you know, Skyrim's the better game.
Yeah.
You know, just like before Skyrim, I played Oblivion over Morrowind because it was the better game.
Yeah.
But every now and then... like,
you kind of have that inkling to go
now
back
that
to your
Skyrim's
past.
out, I don't really get nostalgic for Oblivion. But even though Skyrim's out, I still get nostalgic for Morrowind because that was my, you know, I cut my teeth on the Elder Scrolls on Morrowind, like probably so many other people did.
Yeah.
And it was just, I don't know, it was the epitome of what I wanted from a game at that time as well. Mm-hmm. It was just so perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though it was, you know...
I mean, well,
to go back to it now,
younger,
it's so, like, well, not really flawed, but it's just, oh my god, sometimes it can be hard to play.
Yeah.
It's so much fun.
What it is again, it's that nostalgia factor, because you were a child, or you were much younger when you played that game, and now that you're older, you kind of, like, think back on the good times, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah, and also when I bloody broke it. But that's a story for another time.
Yeah. I'm going to be a gaming podcast or something, not a creepypasta podcast. Anyway, so actually this seems to be like a first for you, because you usually don't like gaming creepypastas.
They're not... I don't think we've done one that's been a game that I've played.
That's true, yeah.
And I liked last week's, which
was not a game. It was an OC, technically. Yeah.
Technically, it was a video game.
It was, but
a computer game.
Yeah. Semantics. So I just find it very interesting that you like. I guess it really does come down to like.
I've now seen the flip side of the coin.
Yeah.
And this one was also a hell of a lot shorter than Ben Drowned.
Yeah.
Because that's honestly, as far as video game pastas go, that's the one I've got to compare it to. Because Ben Drowned was well done.
You just had no context.
I just didn't have the context for the video game. And I'm pretty sure I said that when we did it.
Exactly. Like you could have done without the...
Whereas this one, it was, you know, okay, I know that, you know, I get what they're talking about in-game, but it was also way shorter.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, like Ben Drowned, I don't think I read it in one sitting.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure I could have if I'd have powered through, but you know, because I'd never played the game, I got a little bored.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, even if I hadn't loved the game, it's still one sitting, you're done.
Yeah. Like it's less than 20 minutes to read it, so.
Yeah. I mean, it's more of a proper length for a creepypasta.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. All right, I think so. Would you recommend this one to like an audience as a whole, or?
Well, that's the thing. Because of my experience with Ben Drowned, I cannot recommend this to anyone who doesn't like Elder Scrolls games.
Yeah,
but I'm pretty sure that fans of Elder Scrolls video games, I mean, my girlfriend loves them.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's a big enough audience where I can definitely say. A definite maybe for Elder Scrolls fans, and definite read for Morrowind fans.
Yeah.
It's definitely a conditional recommendation.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I could see, like, recommending it for even, like, somebody who doesn't know a whole lot about Morrowind, but knows about the Elder Scrolls series. Just like I do. Like, I only know about Skyrim, but I would probably enjoy this pasta with that, and I did enjoy this pasta with only that scant knowledge. So, yeah, it's one of those conditional would recommend.
Yeah, I mean, if you've never had any interest in an Elder Scrolls game, or even worse, if you've tried one and just hated it...
Then you're not going to like this one.
Then, yeah, avoid this like the plague, which I'm sure you don't need me to tell you.
Yeah.
Whereas, yeah, if you've played an Elder Scrolls game, and definitely if you've played Morrowind, this was a fun way to revisit the world of Morrowind without,
and it doesn't,
booting up the Xbox.
Yeah, and while it does, like, twist the Morrowind, from what I understand, anyway, of the game, it does seem to twist it. It doesn't, like, go to super extremes like some of the ones I know are out there. Like,
well, it has
like,
nothing to do with the plot of the game.
No, it's all about, like...
It doesn't have anything to do with some, like, hard-defined side quest or anything
either. It's its own entity.
It has to do with its own quest that's in the mod.
And it's in the world as a game.
Yeah.
Not as the world of Morrowind.
Really, Morrowind is just the setting for the pasta, if that makes sense. Well, like, it's one of two settings for the pasta, because there's the real world and then there's Morrowind.
Yeah.
I mean, this could have been in a Zelda game. It could have been... Well, exactly. It could have been in a Zelda game. It could have been in... Mass Effect, Knights of the Old... Well, I mean, maybe not Mass Effect,
Dragon Age.
It's not that old, but...
Yeah.
Like, it could have been in any of those older games, because, well, just based on the timeline of the pasta, it has to be from an older game. But, they chose Morrowind, and that pleased the ever-living piss out of me.
I'm not gonna lie, it was one of the reasons I chose this pasta this week.
You just wanted to prove me, show me the other side of the coin with the whole Ben Drowned thing.
Can you blame me?
Yeah, I did have an unreasonable amount of hate. Well, actually, no, I liked that one. It was lost on me.
Yeah. Alright. So we've given our little discussion about it. I think we both conditionally recommend it, as long as you don't hate Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, I mean, if you're one of the people out there who don't like Elder Scrolls games, and I'm not going to hate on you, but if you do, don't read this, because it's about something you hate.
Yeah,
and
why would you read that?
Again, like I say, I don't think I'd have to tell anyone to avoid it if they should avoid it. And if you're like so many other people who, never played Morrowind, this is a fun little journey into that world.
Yeah. It might even get you interested to play the game. The Morrowind game, not...
Oh, I'm sure people who loved Oblivion and Skyrim would love to play Morrowind. It's just finding it nowadays.
Yeah. Alright, well, I believe that's it then. Do you have anything else to say before we sign off?
No, nothing really.
Yeah. Alright. As always, you can send us hate mail or, suggestions and emails and stuff, and comments and whatnot, in the comment section below, wherever this gets posted. We are on iTunes, so you can send us a review. We haven't gotten anything yet, but, you could be the first. We're also on Twitter at Review Cultist and at Dr. Leviathan. And we're on YouTube. So, yeah, just leave us a comment in the comment section below if you want. Feel free. You can also send us an email at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. Where you can also send us suggestions for other creepypastas. Hey, send us some suggestions for gaming creepypastas. And until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
And as always, I'm Dr. Leviathan.
And this has been Al Dente Rigamortis. Sleep well.